holding its breath, I'd say, rather than calm. The funerals are due sometime afternoon, either after the noon prayer or a little bit after that, and the plan for the Muslim Brotherhood is to stage demonstrations from the funerals. So I think feelings will be quite elevated, and I think the chances of more trouble certainly exist.
Jeremy, have we got a clear figure or a clearer figure for the casualties yesterday?
No, not really. You were reporting the official ministry figure, and the Muslim Brotherhood figure is 10 times that. So it's hard to say, but certainly in terms of reporters going around various improvised mortuaries, I think that we can say that it was certainly in the hundreds. And whatever the precise casualty details, the fact is that the actions of the military show that they have effectively given up the idea of a political process, if they ever had that idea. When they ousted President Morsi, they said that they would work very hard to re-establish democratic institutions as soon as possible. But now there's at least a month of this emergency law. Now, in the Mubarak years, Egypt was governed for 3 decades under an emergency law. So the fear now is not so much about democracy, but that the security state might well be returning, the state that was overthrown in January, February 2011.
So how will history judge what happened yesterday? Is that the moment a civil war began?
It's too early to say that. A civil conflict exists, definitely. Whether it escalates into a civil war is another matter. It may be that violence might be more episodic than that, but I think that what's absolutely certain is that the two sides in Egypt here are still bent on a path of confrontation. There is no middle ground available for anybody who wants to try and get them together right now. What they really need to try to do is for all Egyptians to come together to try to build some national consensus about the kind of country that they want, and that probably should happen before they try to have another election. But at the moment, with people being killed on the streets and demonstrations and tension, that really is a long way off.
Is there a role for the international community to play, or are they effectively unable to get involved with this?
Well, in the end, I think a solution will come from Egyptians talking to Egyptians, and there's been a European delegation here, the Americans have been here, and they're trying to use the influence that they have. And in the case of the Americans, it's really quite considerable, potentially, and that is they give $1.3 billion of aid, most of it military, to Egypt every year. So they effectively bankroll the army. They have close relations, therefore, with the Egyptian army. This has been going on for 30 years, this level of aid. And so, as a result of that, they could threaten perhaps to turn off the tap. The Americans were very condemnatory of the violence and saying it wasn't going to help in the statement of the Secretary of State yesterday. But the Americans have not called this a military coup, and there's a reason for that, because under American law, they would then have to stop that $1.3 billion in aid, and the Americans have said they are not using that formulation because it is not in the national interests of the US. In other words, up to now they're saying better to keep funding the army than to use that particular lever.